Hey guys, it's Yishan here, coming at you guys with a normal frog deck profile. And in this video, I'm going to show you how my normal frog deck works. It's basically like an aggressive Paleozoic version. It swaps out the Paleozoic traps in ways and swaps it out for cards that make Toad really quickly and on the first turn as consistently as possible, while also playing lots of defensive cards similar to Paleozoic. And you might be asking me, Yishan, hey, are you actually running cards like Slime Toad in your main deck? And I can answer to you that yes, I am in fact running 3 Slime Toads in my main deck. And not only am I running 3 Slime Toads, I'm also running 3 Psychic Kappas as well in my main deck. So if you want to see how this crazy deck works, it's a lot of fun, it's really budget, but also really competitive. Stick around, we're going to go through the deck profile right now. Hey guys, it's Yishan here, and we are back with the deck profile portion of this deck profile. Go figure. So the first thing that we're going to go over is the normal package in this frog deck. And this is really the fun and cool part about this deck, because when you slam down these 3 Slime Toads and you slam down these 3 Psychic Kappas in your opponent, it's going to get a lot of funny and good reactions out of your opponent, right? And so this is pretty cool. So yeah, this is what I consider part of the normal package. You can get away with only running 3 of a normal monster, and in that case you should run Slime Toad because it actually has the highest attack out of all level 2 aqua type monsters. But I actually think running 6 is good, and the reason you run these normal monsters is you actually run 3 Rescue Rabbit to pull out these normal monsters, because once you pull out 2 of these, you're actually able to make a Toadally Awesome on the first turn, something that the Paleozoic frog deck does not have access to. As well as you get to run 3 Unexpected Die. What this card does is if you control no monsters, you're actually able to just special summon a normal monster straight from your deck. So it actually allows for really easy turn 1 Toad plays. And so this is what I call the normal package. This is what makes it a normal frog deck, and lets you turbo out those Toadally Awesomes really quickly and get them really consistently out on the first turn. So I don't usually like to do my spell cards mixed with monsters, but this is the only time I'm going to do this because I just want to explain how this normal package works. It's about getting Toad out aggressively on the first turn to set the tempo of the game right away. Okay, next we've got the best frog ever printed, 3 Swap Frog, second best frog ever printed, 3 Dupe Frog, and 2 Ronin Toadin. Now this is the frog package, and if you've played Paleo Frog or played against it, you know how devastating this can be, because once you get the Toadally Awesomes, you get to start summoning these from your deck. Swap Frog can dump Ronin, and you have a lot of future plays, so it seems like once you get to the first Toad, you chain to the second Toad. Now I know Toad is semi-limited right now, but let's be honest, by the time the next ban list rolls around, it's gonna be unlimited, and this deck will be at full power, and this deck is much better with 3 Toad than 2, I will admit that, because you really rely on Toad a lot. But this right now is, it's just like the perfect number. You could consider running 3 Ronin. 2 is fine though, in my opinion. You just need 1 in your graveyard to get your plays going. Okay, that's the frog package. Nothing more to say. Swap Frog is king. It's one of the best. But this deck doesn't need to draw Swap Frog to make Toad, which is what makes it so interesting. For my hand traps, I run 3 Ogre and 3 Ash. Now, this is a budget deck, like I said, so these are some pretty budget options. These are usually pretty cheap and pretty affordable, and usually have them. You can run Veiler if you want. There's a lot of different ways you could take this with the hand traps in the deck. You don't even need to run Impermanence. In fact, I don't even think Impermanence is necessary, because Impermanence, right now, Call by the Grave just got limited. If you're playing Paleo Frog, you definitely need Impermanence, because that's a trap that you can chain your Paleo trap cards to. That's really strong. But in this deck, we're not running any Paleo traps, because those traps tend to be weaker than just Solemns. So yeah, you can go get away with this. I like to run Ghost Ogre because it actually gets rid of the monster usually that you're trying to deal with, because this deck can have some troubles getting over big monsters. So that's important. Okay, so we've got our hand traps. Next we've got 3 Pot of Desires. Now, Pot of Desires, just a staple in this deck in my opinion. You just really need those cards. The only card you're worried about banishing is the 2 Ronin Toadin. I'm running 6 normal, so this allows me to run Desires pretty easily. So I really like it. Great card. in this deck. And then the only other spell card in this deck actually is one Call by the Grave. So we've only got 7 spells, 3 pot, 3 Unexpected Die, and a Call by the Grave. Now Call by the Grave is actually really good in this deck, but also really good against this deck, because once you go through your first Toad, this Call by the Grave on a Toad effect can just be brutal, because not only does it negate the negation effect, it also negates the recycling effect that Toad has. So in a way that this deck was actually good, buffed and hit by the nerf to Call by the Grave, because Call by the Grave is really good for pushing your turn 1 Toads, your Rescue Rapids, your Unexpected Dies through. So it's both a good and bad hit to us, basically. Okay, for the traps, it's pretty simple. We've got 3 Solemn Warning, 3 Solemn Judgments, and 3 Solemn Strikes. I think you can pick these cards up all really cheap. Everything so far you could pick up really cheap. The only card I really want to talk about here, I think Judgment and Strike are just completely necessary. Solemn Warning, I could see this being actually a compulsory evacuation device or crackdown. This deck has problems with established boards, and Solemn Warning is one of the weaker Solemns at this point, actually. So I would definitely consider looking into maybe trying out compulsory evacuation device or crackdown, or maybe something else in this slot. But I like having all the Solemns right now. It's just kind of fun. And then the last trap is 1 Imperial Order. Again, we're only running 7 spells, all 7 of which, if you're going first, can be used on the first turn. So really, really, really strong trap card in this deck. I really like it. It can just blow out, win you some games. Okay, so extra deck. Big Boss Boy, 2 Totally Awesome. Okay, so 2 Totally Awesome. Really, really cool. Really, really just the strongest. Not only it's just a really strong boss monster. Not only does it negate, it also summons from your deck. And not only does it do that, it also recurs. And with Master Rule 5, you don't actually need to go into a Link monster to get multiple of these on the field anymore. So I think that's going to be a really nice buff to this deck. So basically your deck is just trying to spam him out. If you can't get him out, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, because basically the deck relies on this card. Okay, for my other rank 2s, I'm running 1 Sky Cavalry Centura. You can look at this like it's basically a non-targeting, non-destruction rule. It can attack, detach a material, and bounce the card it attacked to its hand. And then 1 Phantom Knights of Cursed Javelin. This just lets you negate a monster on the field, and if something has high attack points, it also turns its attack points to 0. So the only other rank 2 I've worth found running. When Toad comes back to 3, which I think it will in the next list, because let's be honest, Toad is probably not doing that much right now. This deck will be full power and a lot of fun. So far everything's still budget. We've got some Nightmares. You definitely want to run the Nightmares. Really strong in this deck. Lots of good stuff to discard, and just great links to have. Really great utility. Not much more to say about these, to be honest with you. The one link you definitely need to have Mistar Boy. It's just really nice to buff up your whole team. I haven't really found myself ever wanting more than one of these. I could see you could run 2, but as with Master Rule 5 now, his big point before was to get 2 Toads on the field. Now you don't need to do that, so you only go into him sometimes when you need the attack points. But still a great guy to have around. For the Link 4s, this is where things can get interesting. I'm running Borrelsword Dragon, Borreload Dragon, and Mech Knight Crusader Avermac because I have the space. So they can link climb really easily. If you have the budget, or you already have cards like Access Code Talker, Access Code Talker is a really great card to slot in here. And if you do slot Access Code Talker in here, you could still run a Christian Hockey Frebrax and run Effect Failures and Selene if you want to go that route. However, there's not that many spells in this deck, so Selene might not be that optimal. But I think Access Code Talker is definitely good for this deck. I'm just keeping it budget. You don't even need to run the Hockey Frebrax if you don't have it, but if you do, you don't even need to run Access Code Talker, because you could just play like a fair version where you use Hockey Fibrax to summon out Ghost Ogre from your deck and use its actual effect to tag out with TG Wonder Magician. So I think it's like a great way to turn like resources into extra board presence, and sort of use Hockey Fibrax in a fair way. That's pretty cool, I think. So yeah, that's like a, if you have like Access Code Talker, I think it'd be great to throw in here. Borrelsword is really good at OTKing. It's a little bit better than Access Code Talker, but Access Code Talker is better just at popping cards in general. And then clearing the way for like an OTK that way. So both are good. I definitely would say if you have Access Code Talker, you should run it. But again, it's not necessary. Only Borreload, Borrelsword are necessary, I would say. Avermax is really fun. And then of course, Christian Hockey Frebrax, if you have it, you can summon Ghost Ogres from your deck, because Ghost Ogre can pop on the field. And then you could turn that into a TG Wonder Magician. And as for the rest of the spots in the extra deck, you could literally put whatever you want. You could try Elder Entity Ints and they like maybe against the Dogmatica matchup. You could try other cards, really whatever you want. Experiment around. The extra deck has got a little bit of extra space right now because we're still missing a Toad. Let's go on to the side deck, because that's also a really interesting part of this deck. You can run some Floodgates in this deck. You can run 3 Gozen Match and 3 Rivalry of the Warlords. all the monsters in this deck are water aquas, so these are really strong against any deck that can be hit by them. For going second, I like to run some Gammas, because I think Gamma is another great hand trap in this deck. If you know you're going second, you can just put these in. If you want these going first, you could maybe like side out Desire so you don't accidentally banish the driver. There's a lot of different ways you could side with this deck, but this is a pretty fun way to play the deck. If you side out like Desires, you could also side out some extra normal monsters. So that's just a little siding tip if you want to bring in Gammas and you're planning on bringing out Desires. For back row, I like to run 3 Twin Twister. I've tried Heavy Storm Duster, but the truth is that you usually are fine with discarding a card in your hand, and a lot of times you just want the Twin Twister to be able to be used on your turn against back row decks. So I really like Twin Twister over Heavy Storm Duster. You could even run Lightning Storm if you wanted to, but again, we're trying to keep this budget. So 3 Twin Twister. And then my last 2 cards, I like to run 1 Dinosaur Plangertops and then 1 recently unbanned Heavy Harpy's Feather Duster for the 15 card side deck. These 2 cards are just really fantastic limited cards. Great at going second. Great, you know, against like freaking random decks, rogue decks. This is really good against, and this is just really good against any deck that's going to have any form of back row. I kind of wanted to run a Raigeki too, just to have Raigeki and Harpy's Feather Duster in the deck, but I just couldn't find the space for it. I think Plangertops is probably a better card in this format right now. So that wraps up the deck profile, guys. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and please consider subscribing if you made it this far into the video and are not subscribed yet, because I'd really appreciate it if you like these style of deck profiles, these really cool rogue competitive budget deck profiles. That's sort of where I specialize. So if you like that sort of content, please consider subscribing. And until next time, guys, have a good day.